C1Blitz. Hi everybody, this is the first ever C1Blitz Teen Review Panel. My name's Vicky and I'm part of the Freshly Squeezed Reads group. So if you don't know what you're watching, have a look at our website and find out a little bit about our competition. Today's event is all about young people reviewing a bunch of first chapters that have been submitted by emerging writers of YA fiction. And we are really excited because we've got a good problem, which is we had 42 submissions to the process. We thought we might get 20. So we've got 42 submissions, we've got 17 teenagers, and we have 90 minutes in which to review all of these 42 submissions. So it's a bit of a challenge. It's going to be a fluid, relaxed, informal occasion. And each teenager will review each chapter that they've read for 1 minute. Each chapter has been reviewed by 2 teenagers as a minimum. Okay, so first of all, the first panel is other guys in front of me. We've got Tash, Xander, Fergus, Katie and Roshni, and they're going to be reviewing a bunch of stories. I'm just going to go and sit down now so you don't have to see me. So the first story that we're going to, the 4 stories we're going to look at in this first panel are a story called Taden, or Taden, I'm not quite sure how to say it, The Scarlet Ring, Swappers and Night of the Wolf. So I might start with Fergus and Xander first. You guys have read Taden.
Yeah.
I want to know what you thought of it.
Well, I liked how it was written from a ghost point of view, and I also liked how the author just described stuff in a special kind of fashion. It was just like, I just chose this phrase because it's just one of the many. As you're falling, you notice that the sheer 200-foot drop right down the side, a face which, by the way, has a remarkably smooth surface. The only improvements I can think of are not much. I think it's a pretty good story.
Yeah. So what did you like about that phrase? What did it do for you?
I just kind of formed a picture in my mind, really.
Nice. So he's a strong writer.
Yeah.
He or she, we don't actually know if it's a male. Fergus, what did you think of Taden?
I thought that the narrator was kind of fourth wall breaking and more talking to the reader. And because some books, it pretty much feels like the narrator is talking in like an empty room. But I didn't think it really worked because it didn't really capture me initially, and I was like, what? Okay. But I eventually settled into it.
Okay.
I also think he spent too much time talking about things that I didn't really care about, like the castle, and he didn't really introduce us to the character of Taden. Like, that's what he says in the chapter. All right, I'm going to introduce you to Taden now, and then it just ended. Okay.
So what would you like the author to do to engage you a bit more from the beginning?
Probably start off more in medias res.
Which means?
Which means pretty much you don't really know what's going on and you have to pick up like from context. And
okay. So straight into the action kind of thing, or?
Straight into the action, but straight into the character.
Yep, yep. So it sounds like you felt that there was too much distance between you and the character.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about in particularly in first chapters is empathy. So it sounds like you didn't get a chance to build any empathy with that character. Yeah, that'd be about right. So Xander, what did you? So you didn't think there was anything that he needs to do to work on it?
No,
Would you like to read more of that story?
Yeah. I definitely want to see the full piece.
And how do you think it's going to go? What do you think? What do you expect from the story now that you've read that?
I don't know. It actually said like it was going to be a tale of friendship and something.
Yeah. So you expect there'll be something to do with how to make friends and all the pitfalls of making friends. Yeah. Well, I quite enjoyed that it was from a ghost point of view as well. It worked for me. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. So that's pretty much the first story down. Now the guys have written their comments online as well, or if they haven't, they will be able to. So the author will be able to have a look at that in a little bit. The next one we're going to talk about is The Scarlet Ring. So Xander and Fergus are going to also talk about the Scarlet Ring. Did either of you want to? What for you worked well in this one, Fergus? Did anything work well?
No. I just thought it was really dull, and in contrast to Taden, it moves too quickly, and I don't really understand what is going on, and we don't really have any time to build the world or the characters. And yeah, the book could have been taking place in like a cardboard box because I didn't know what was going on.
So the world wasn't strong or clear to you?
Yeah. I think you could fix that by adding an author surrogate character, which would kind of slow down the narrative and kind of be the audience's gateway in.
Okay, interesting, good point. Sandra, what did you think of Scarlet Ring? How did that...
Same as that. It didn't really describe the world or the character much. It's just kind of like, and then he entered whatever, and then, you didn't really know what was kind of happening until,
Okay. So what do you want from the story that it didn't give you?
More description, maybe a bit more action.
Yep. So knowing what the character wants or what the character's doing?
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah.
Okay. So part of it's about understanding their purpose in the story, yeah? And why they're doing what they're doing and the kinds of things that they want. So in terms of if we want to provide some feedback to the author about the positives, every piece has some aspect to it that has value. Is there anything that you can think of that, whether it was a phrase or a way of writing that you...
Well, it was in medieval times, and I kind of like just medieval kind of things.
Yeah, so the genre works for you.
Yeah, the genre works. But just the storyline might need a bit of work.
Yeah, okay. So a bit more engaging and punchy from the start.
Yeah.
So Fergus, was there anything, any style of writing or character development that you thought was good?
No.
So if we try and find some positives for the author to build on, I mean, maybe you're not the target audience. Is there anyone that that you think might enjoy that work?
Or him. More people who enjoy Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Okay.
And
that's not your area of interest?
Yeah, well, I did enjoy The Hobbit, but I didn't really get into the Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Well, that's good feedback. So maybe you're not the target market. This is partly why we have more than one person reviewing each piece. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. All right. Well, you guys can have a break for a few minutes while we talk to Rosh. Actually, sorry, Fergus, you can't have a break. Swappers is the next piece we're looking at. So Roshni and Fergus, you're our reviewers on that one. So Swappers, Roshni, I'll hear from you first. What did you think of it?
I really liked it because it's like a parallel world, and you've got the whole concept of talking to people through your mind, so it's really cool. And sorry, I'm a little sick.
You do know.
The informal language I really liked because you could sort of it was easy to read and you could sort of connect and empathise with the protagonist more. I liked the imagery that was created. It was pretty vivid, and you felt like you were there. Yeah,
nice. Excellent. Thank you. Fergus, how did this work for you?
I liked it, but I'm not sure why. Because the book is if a marketing person went up to the author and said, just make like a YA book, this is probably what would happen. Okay. Because it's like a girl in a sort of utopian, but there's something else more sinister going on. And I did enjoy it. I liked the SIM cards in the head and whatever.
The ideas interested you?
I did like the scene at the Aths track. That was good.
Yep. So what about the writing? What did you think of the writing, guys? The descriptive ability of the author. Did that work for you?
I think it worked. It kind of hang on.
That's all right.
Especially the ending. The only thing I didn't like about it was that it didn't really end in a cliffhanger. It was kind of just I don't know, it didn't really work for me.
Mm-hmm. You wanted a bit more of a hook to the next chapter.
Yeah, and I also felt that the storyline to come is kind of a little predictable. You're gonna know that the protagonist and the boy that we were introduced to, they're definitely gonna get together.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some kind of weird love story.
Teamwork. And they're all going to learn a lesson about friendship.
Okay. so it sounds like it's a little too predictable in some respects. So you'd want something a little bit more unique and playing around with genre?
Yeah, I did like the characters in it. Yeah, and I did like how they describe each thing, and you could really relate to the characters, and you had not necessarily sympathy. Sympathy, but you know,
You connected with them.
Yeah, you connected.
Lovely. Thank you. We'll stop it there for that one. See how quick it goes. So thank you very much to you both. Now, Roshni and Katie, I'll get you guys to talk to me about Night of the Wolf and what your thoughts were on that. Katie, you go first.
Okay. Well, I love the prologue, like the start of it, and how it. I felt like it was different because the majority of when it starts, it can often be a dream, but this one I felt like it was his nightmare and not her nightmare. And even though she was in it, she wasn't the one being like attacked in it and stuff. And I thought that was really different and unique, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm the kind of person that when I go to the bookstore, I don't read the blurb first. I read the prologue if they've got it. So that was the kind of prologue that really got to me, and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. I'm going to keep reading that. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, honestly, it was my favorite chapter that I read out of all of them.
Wonderful.
The very first line was really captivating. It was like, in my dreams, I watch him die. So you're like, what's happening here? Like, someone's dying, and you're putting it as the first sentence. So I really liked that. I thought the prologue was really intense, and it really grasped the reader's attention, and it appealed to our senses as the imagery was like really dark but beautiful at the same time. I love the use of the fragmented paragraphs. So it was kind of breaking it up. It was like, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, but they're all connected. I think the use of language is perfect and extremely emotive. The reader could really connect with the protagonist, which is really good. And I just think that a few exclamations here and there would have helped. Like, there were some abrupt things that happened, and there would have been more emotion if there was an exclamation mark, just one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. 30 seconds on this one. Katie, is there anything you think needs to be worked on? Anything that didn't work for you?
Not really. I really enjoyed it. It's the kind of book I would buy and continue to read. So yeah, I was really happy because this was the first one I read, and I'm like, yeah, I was really into it. So yeah.
Oh, good. Wonderful.
I just picked out one.
Yeah.
It was when one of the characters said something that lives forever, can't beautiful. I think there needed to be a B between can't.
A little bit of an edit in a couple of spots. Yeah.
I'm really thinking like that.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
But otherwise, it was a really great chapter, and I would definitely read it.
Thank you. Excellent. Well done, guys. Right. Is that it for this one? Yes, it is. And now we will move over to our second panel, which is moderated by Amy. You're live.
Hello everyone, my name's Amy Hahn. I'll be moderating this panel, and with me we've got Olivia, Thorsten, Callum and Olive. And the chapters that we're going to be talking about is Mystery in Sumatra, Synthesis, Ghost Curse, Keeper of Shadows, and Ice and Shadows. So let's start with Mystery in Sumatra, which was reviewed by Owen and Callum. Let's start with you, Callum. What did you think about this Mystery in Sumatra?
Well, the story was pretty good overall, but after finishing this chapter, I think it'd be cool if there could be like maybe mum and dad's perspectives, or Nim's perspectives, or the evil Rick's perspectives, because that might change it around, because you might get bored of going with the same person, but also it gets interesting, and then like want to know what the other. So that's why I put the rock and then being from the person.
Okay, so you think it'd be nice for the reader to have perspectives from more characters from the beginning, just to make sure he gets a little bit more?
Yeah, but also the end of the chapter maybe.
Okay. What about you?
I felt the first paragraph was a great introduction.
Yeah.
It worked to just grab your attention pretty quickly. There was a lot of really direct language that was used to describe things, which you couldn't avoid.
Okay.
So it's like saying really obvious things, which could have people imply instead of do that.
Yeah. Do you think more showing and not telling in the writing suggesting it rather than just saying? Okay. Does the chapter make you want to keep reading the rest of the story?
Yeah, it kind of does. It's usually the series and what we want to chapters, just the same content. It really want to keep on reading, and it had a great start and a great ending.
What do you expect from the rest of the story based on the first chapter?
I think it's just a good track on the
Yeah. Okay. And what about you?
I think the ending was intriguing, which is good. It did make me read.
Yeah. And what do you expect from the rest of the story?
Sure.
Not sure?
Not sure.
But you would be
Just good.
interested to find out.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to
Yeah,
suggest to the author?
there was good use of original phrasing, like the fear tickled inside her chest, like head sharp from her ribs. That's the last one. That was good.
Nice message. Anything else? Suggest? No? Okay, fantastic. I think that's some good feedback. Let's talk about synthesis, which was Callum and Torsten. Torsten, what did you think about it?
I felt it was really well written, well crafted, and very descriptive. Like the blue sky shades grey. I thought it was good. It put an image into my head. Yeah, clever use of words, but very self-contained. Yeah, he's dividing all by itself, and I didn't feel like I wanted to keep on reading. I kind of wanted more of a teaser or and what would happen in the next chapter, which I didn't really.
That suggests a lot of chaos happening in that attacks. That doesn't make you wonder sort of what it is, or
It kind of just put it there.
okay. And what do you think the author could have done to make you more intrigued to keep reading?
Maybe building to again. Yeah. Or I don't know, just a bit more chaos.
A bit more chaos? Who do you think would be the target audience for this story?
Older mates, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Sam? What did you think about it?
I think this stuck and also intriguing or exciting because like it was very long but I didn't really understand what was happening at first. So the scene was well described.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well described. I knew where they were. But didn't really describe the main character.
I think that's some good feedback. So give us a little bit more so that we hear more about the character, because obviously something very serious and intense is happening. But maybe you don't feel quite connected to the character. Could that be why not quite as intriguing? Okay. And did you have any other feedback for the author? In terms of what could they do to make it really engaging for you from the beginning?
And maybe have a bit more background information on the main character.
Okay.
Just that way we can kind of connect.
Yeah.
If we connect with the stronghold.
Yeah.
What's happening to it.
But you did like the descriptive language, and there is a lot of strong imagery comparison.
Yeah, but I think the ending of the chapter needs to be changed a bit. Because it's like there's something going on. And it's fire truck coming.
Yeah.
But then it just says someone is in a car. And I think you could add a bit more symptoms. So you finish it into it. It's changed a bit. So
So we can really leave us hanging and not make us turn the page. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Let's talk about Ghost Curse, which is Olivia and Callum again. Olivia, what did you think about Ghost Curse?
It was a great chapter.
Yeah.
I had a lot of mystery in it. Did people do it weird?
Weird in a good way, or just weird?
It's a bit locked up.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts about it? Did it intrigue you?
We have a lot of information in it.
Yeah.
I reckon we have a little bit more on the character itself.
Okay. Yep. To make you really feel like you know the character from the beginning. And did it make you want to keep reading?
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah. What do you expect from the rest of it?
Not really sure.
Not really sure. But as long as you're intrigued, that's the good thing. That's what we want. So, okay, fantastic. What did you think about it, Callum?
Yeah, I feel really chapter.
Yeah.
I don't really get the part when she starts asking me questions like why they focus on it. So I think you said it's like what it's like for the questions she asks. Describe history of the room.
Okay.
She starts asking questions. I don't really understand the war part. Like, I don't get how Jacob would say the retailer and stuff, so I want to explain
A little bit more. I don't think the main character understands why Declan knows Bora either. So, do you think that was a good book to make you keep reading?
Yeah, kind of. So,
Yeah.
because I would have kept reading.
Just to find out what this all means.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Did you have any other thoughts for the author? Maybe what else they could do to make this chapter even more engaging?
I feel like I just explain it a bit better.
Yeah. Some of you are a theme. Okay. Fantastic. Keeper of Shadows, Torsten and Owen. Owen, what did you think about it?
This one I really liked it. It's probably my favourite one. The language was really good. And the sentence structure was clever.
Yeah.
It was nice to read.
Yeah. And what about what actually happened in the chapter?
It was intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot you don't understand. It's not understandable. Like, yeah, it's just mysterious.
And what about you?
Yeah, I felt it was well written. Yeah, maybe it's also my favourite. Gives the reader a sense of anticipation because we're not sure if Kellen's sick or he's hiding something else. He's a bit controversial and he's like a hero.
Yeah, he's an interesting character,
Yeah,
isn't he?
he's a really of himself, and but you feel that there's something going on behind the scenes that doesn't hide. Yeah.
It's a nice setup. You're reading to find out more about the character. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say, Lydia?
A couple of the scenes seem a bit disjointed. Like when he leaves the classroom and then he goes to the pain, it's sort of really sudden. There's no, I was a bit confused when I first read it. It didn't really make sense.
Yeah, so a little bit more set up in between scenes.
There was one analogy that was really good.
Which one was that?
Which was then she looked at me like blood sucking. With arms like a blood sucking mosquito and something like that, and it didn't feel quite right.
Some homely looking freshmen slowed down. What do you mean? Feel like my own arm, her big brown eyes stuck on me like hungry mosquitoes.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd. Didn't really understand.
Okay. Yeah.
And also I wasn't too sure because it was this like too bad I was beyond saving. Maybe one day I could pay them back by taking their soul. At least I could afford to that. And I'm not sure if the devil or if he's just playing funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't really know how to feel about this character yet, do we? All right, thank you. Last one for this session, we're talking about Ice and Shadow, and we've got Torsten and Owen again. So, Owen, what did you think about Ice and Shadow?
I liked the way that you were able to illustrate all the relationships between all the characters indirectly. So just the way they talk to each other or the language they use with each other would imply the relationship they have. That was really good.
Okay, yeah. And what about you, Torsten?
It had a lot of imagination put into it, which I really enjoyed. Yeah, it gives you a good sense of anticipation. But felt a bit rushed, but I kind of struggled to understand what was happening, especially at the start. But I like the idea that it was not a real life situation, but it was like in a different type of world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit fantasy. Do you like fantasy stories? And does it make you want to keep reading the rest of the book?
Yeah, especially at the end where they get attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
sudden.
What kind of story are you expecting?
Kind of like them maybe trying to escape the town they're in so that they can use their magic. Because I think that's what they want to like use their magic.
Did it make you want to read?
Yeah, I do like it. It had, I liked the two different themes, the politics theme and then the magic theme, but it was a bit weird in the transfer, when the change to the magic theme, I felt really rushed.
Yeah.
Just changed really quickly.
Yeah. So again, a bit more setup to lead into things. Okay. And who would you recommend this kind of story for?
I don't have anyone who likes fantasy.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's us for this session. So we're going to flip back to Vicky and her panel to talk about the next set of chapters.
Cool. Hi everyone. You can't actually see me, but you can hopefully see the girls relatively soon. So the group that I've got here with me is Tash, Roshni, Nicole, Katie and Beck. And we're going to talk about a couple of chapters. We're talking about Tumble, talking about Cam and Sticks, Temporary Me, and Noah's Ark. So I might get, who did Tumble? Katie and Nicole. So I'll get Nicole, because you haven't spoken yet, to talk about Tumble first. So what did you think about Tumble?
I really enjoyed it, and I think it's something that I would definitely read as a book. One of the things that I really liked was that a boy was able to be classified as a best friend, because I know in a lot of books that kind of thing doesn't happen, especially when the main character is female. I found there was a little bit of a controversial thing, and I found that underage kids going clubbing was a bit unusual, and I don't know if that's something that we want to encourage, but again, like, it was part of the story, so that's right. But apart from that, the general context I really enjoyed. And the only issue that I found, it took me quite a while to figure out if the main character was a female or a male.
Okay.
I didn't think it was described enough.
Yeah.
So I think if we were to work on that, the character should be introduced and give a bit of description to them.
A little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Katie.
I would just like to say that I really enjoyed the fact that it was very Australian. And usually when, I'm not sure, but lots of Australian authors, they usually either stay clear from writing about schooling because of the whole year level stuff, or they just adapt to American or British standards. And I really liked this story because I understood it more, and I didn't have to worry about what a freshman was and what a senior was and all that stuff. And it just made me feel more comfortable. And I think that's really important about a story, to make you feel comfortable. And yeah.
Nice. So is there anything you think the author needs to work on or improve or change?
Like I said before, just like the character building, because it was just very hard to understand. Like, it explained their likes and stuff like that, but we did, as I said, it was really hard to know if it was a girl or a boy until later on when they mentioned their name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well done. Thank you. That was 2 minutes on the money. Amazing. The next story we're going to talk about is The Lotus Curse, which is Nicole and Beck. So Beck, tell me what your thoughts were on The Lotus Curse.
I liked this book quite a bit. Like, I liked the first chapter. Like, there was really good descriptive text. There's some, like, the words need some clarification. Like, I'm guessing that this is like an alternate history or New Earth story. So, like, not this time, not this history, different place. I'm not really a fan of third person. I never really have been, but that's just my personal opinion. I think that first person just allows, like, a more in-depth version of, like, what people are feeling. Just with, like, is it Taejin? I think that's how you say it. I'm guessing that they're, like, of Asian appearance, so sallow skin, smaller eyes, and that Eclipse is of African or South American person. I like the fact that the people in the story aren't the typical white male, white female people. Like, there are different backgrounds. I would prefer Eclipse to be, like, stronger, though. She seems like a really weak character at the moment, and I don't particularly like that. I'm just like, she needs to stand up for herself more, and it's kind of, it's a bit disturbing when you realise that she's in this kind of situation and she's not standing up for herself.
Yeah, okay, nice, thanks. Nicole, what were your thoughts?
I found it quite interesting, and I'm not sure if it's something that I've ever read before. So I think it was a new kind of thing for me.
Yeah.
But like I said with the other story, I'm the kind of person that likes to visualize what the person looks like. And I found that this story had, like, good description of character, but it was really hard to get into the story. And there was like, at the start of the chapter, there were, like, so many characters involved that I just got really confused with what was happening. But yeah.
So you'd like to see it stripped back a little bit, fewer characters, and just a bit stronger on the main character kind of thing. Yeah.
Or, like, more elaboration on who the characters are, and, like, do it clearer. Like, it was kind of a bit confronting. Like, you've got guards and the two twins and the person and Eclipse and the other guy, and it's like, whoa, what? Yeah.
And so that stops you from engaging at the beginning, doesn't it?
It makes you take, like, a couple of reads over to get it.
Okay.
And like Beck said, there were a lot of words that were very unfamiliar to me. So I think that would be easier if it was clarified.
Yeah, in the text.
In the text,
Beautiful. Well done. Thank you. Okay. The next story we're going to talk about is Cam and Sticks, and that's Beck and Katie. So Katie, I might get you to start. Start.
I love the title. That's, like, the one thing I have to say. I love the title because I feel like it's something so different. It's talking about a brother and a sister. And so Cam's the brother and Sticks is the sister. And I just think that's so unique and really, like, different. And I loved it because I'm like, at first I was a bit unsure about it, but then as I read on, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
What did you like about it? Sean through.
I don't know. It's one of those stories that you just read but enjoy and you don't know why. Does that make sense? Like, but I don't know. I've skipped pages.
It captured you somehow.
Yeah, it just I fell in love with Cam as well. I'm not sure if you felt the same way, but I just like the way I love it when you fall in love with characters because then it kind of brings you to a whole new world. And when you hate a character, it makes it really hard to read.
Yeah.
So when you love the character, it makes it that much easier.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I got slightly confused with their relationship. Like, I knew they were brother and sister, but it's just like the last couple of paragraphs, it made it seem like Cam was in the shower with Sticks, and I'm just like,
that's not what you expected.
No. Yeah, it was really well written, and I really enjoyed it. But there's just, I'm not sure if this is a typo or something, but there's a line where they're talking about the farm. And you've got the AG farm, and I'm just like, is AG like agricultural, or was it just a typo? I was going, what is that? The cliffhanger's really good, but cliffhangers can tend to get, like, annoying. Like, you've got to have them at the start, because otherwise people won't keep reading.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you put them in too often, you get tired and bored, because you're just flicking over the next page to find out what's going on, and you don't need the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
you want the ups and downs.
It needs, like, it's good that you've got it, like, really good, but like, just don't put it in too much.
Yeah.
I love the cliffhangers. I'm like, keep going. I don't want to put it down.
Yeah. You've got to have them, but they've got to be, like, spaced out. But I also like the idea that he really doesn't want to go to the deb because it's my debut this year and there are about 20 guys that are going, oh my god, dresses and suits and oh.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, yeah, that's really.
So did you pick that he has a disability?
I thought he had like a
because
she started saying something and then she stopped herself and I was
I
thought that was really interesting and like.
I'm going to stick my knowledge in here. I think he has autism.
Yeah, that's what I was
Did you think?
thinking.
Okay, all right.
Just, like,
So I
learning
think if you guys had that feeling, then the author might have achieved their aim.
Yeah, he the author kind of like says it like there's nothing not quite right with it, and it's like you definitely got like the feeling that that he wasn't completely, well, not normal because that's unfair, but like not at the same level as other people.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I'm going to stop it there. That was Cam and Sticks. So the next one we're going to talk about is Temporary Me. We've got 3 reviewers for this one. So I'll go straight to Tash on this one. Temporary Me, what did you think of the story?
I loved how the author instantly made me connect and feel for Colette, especially because she had a deadbeat job. She's clearly using it to get somewhere else. It's it connects with a lot of people, what they've gone through in that sense. Meeting her love interest covered in baby vomit, that's never actually happened to me, but it was funny and real. Again,
you believed it.
Made me connect with her. I like the suspense at the end in regards to the bag swap and the present, so it made me want to keep reading. The only thing was it didn't pull me in at the start as much as I would have liked, but it made up for that towards the middle end. So
nice. So would you keep reading, do you think?
I would keep reading, yeah.
Thank you. Roshni?
I agree with Tash, but yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a really laid back piece, so it was really, really easy to read. I liked how the author started with a question, so it was kind of directly to the audience, you can sort of connect with them just like that instantly in the first paragraph. I think the tone was really good, you could sympathize with the protagonist, and I was, however, a little confused at the start. I thought that, I forgot her name now, but the protagonist, Colette, was actually a nurse or something, or a receptionist.
I thought she was a triage nurse.
Yeah, because she was dealing with a sick toddler. And
did it matter?
It kind of gave me the wrong impression. I thought it would have been really cool if she was in a hospital and I'm just that'd be really cool. And then it went to a camera and it's
So that you felt a bit that wasn't as exciting as the idea of a hospital. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything that you think they need to work on? The author needs to work on?
I have another grammatical.
Yeah, go for it. I love it. You can start editing for us.
It was just the line, do you have to be so charitable and kind? What if I find you and orphanage here to work at?
Instead of an orphanage.
Yeah. That was just the D.
Yeah. That's it. If there's only one grammatical error, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I sometimes think they put them in so that we can find them.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. So Beck, what were your thoughts?
No, I agree. I thought that she was a triage nurse, working in a hospital at the start. But I felt the story was quite slow. It took a while to get up to speed, so to speak. And I saw the swap bag thing coming when I heard that she was grabbing her bag. I'm just oh, she's got the wrong bag. I saw it coming.
Okay.
And I feel like it's going to be predictable. So I wasn't a particular fan of this. I'm going the opposite way to these for the girls. I feel like in the next chapter she's going to be pressured into taking photos of the camera, and then the boss is going to crack it at her, and Luke becomes a friend and love interest when her best friend's gone, and Luke's going to go out with other girls, and Colette's going to feel awful. It's just, it kind of gets I feel like I've seen this type of progression before.
So the uniqueness is missing.
Yeah. It's really missing. I'm just I hope that they put in a twist somewhere, or a couple of twists, because I feel like it's going to be Colette's going to have to go and find the bag again, and on and on and on. It's just it needs to move faster as well.
Okay.
But I feel it's been done many, many times with phones. There's a book I'm reading at the moment called The Cell Phone Swap, and it's pretty much this.
So is there anything in this piece that you thought was done well that you think the author can build on?
Definitely the descriptive text, the idea and bringing the audience into the book. saying like real life experiences that I've seen happen. Like I've seen babies vomit on the pool, and I'm just like, oh, I feel so bad for them.
So the world feels very familiar and similar, and that works. Yeah.
Like the description of Sydney, I liked just like the whole like women walking out and guys taking beers to illegal parties. It's just like it feels very like the teenage scene at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Well done, guys. Yes, we have one more for this particular session. We're going to talk about Noah's Ark. Katie and Nicole. Nicole, you can speak.
Sure. It was really interesting, this book. I think it was really mysterious, and there wasn't a lot of detail given to the scenario that Jessie was in at the start. So I was like, oh, I'll keep reading to find out what's wrong. And I'm a bit like different to what Beck said before, but I actually really liked that it was in third person, and it was from us, like the writer as a viewer.
Yeah.
I felt really bad for Jessie and the conditions that he was in. It was like, but it was really sad that his father was so strange and very unusual, and I'm guessing we'll find out further in the book what's wrong and what's happened.
Yep.
Again, like before, I think one thing that we could change would be for Jessie to be described a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. You want to see him and feel his presence a bit more strongly.
But in saying that, like the mystery, I think should still stay. But yeah.
Nice. Katie, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I think it was like Nicole said, it was very mysterious, and I enjoyed that. And I like the fact that unlike most stories, we didn't see really, like, you don't really tell where it's going.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool because it's like you can't just tell what's going to happen next. Is there going to be a romance? Is there going to be like what's going to happen? And it keeps you like on your feet. It's like trying to But I really liked it because I felt his pain, and I think that's really important. And you feel other characters' emotions, like I said before.
So what do you think this author did well that helped you engage so well with Jessie?
I don't know. I just maybe like the similarities between teenagers and how we feel.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And I think the setting, the way he described the setting.
I was going to say, what about the world building? Yeah.
Yeah. So explaining the situation that was he was in and the environment, I think, was really good to give us a bit of context.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things I liked about this one was the parallel story of the Uncanny X-Men. So you've got Kitty, who's this super-powered person, and Jessie, who has no power. But for me, that was a nice contrast. Well, that's it for this panel. We have just reviewed Tumble, The Lotus Curse, Cam and Sticks, Tempering Me, and Noah's Ark. And we will now flip back to Amy, who's going to review a few more. Thanks, guys.
Hello again. This time I'm with Bree, Ruby, Lauren, and Meg, and we are going to talk about Shattering, The Visitor, The Bone Singer, A Shadow from the Past, The Banshee Initiate, and Facing Up. So let's start with Shattering, which was Lauren and Ruby. Who would like to go first? What did you think about it, Ruby?
I thought that there was a lot of great descriptive language to describe the house, and it kind of hints at a futuristic time because of how the house is described. And there was one sentence that I thought could be worded a bit differently because it went something like, they aren't sitting in an empty room playing, they're sitting in an empty room not and busy place playing. That is a bit repetitive and a bit awkward. Yeah, I think it didn't flow right. It seemed a bit, I just think they could word it a bit differently without the dashes that you
just so you don't trip up on the sentence as you're reading.
Yeah. And I found the party being described as creating an independent sense of doom, a bit too dramatic. Or maybe that's just in the character's head, but nothing really happened in the whole chapter. I think something should happen to change the pace of how the story's going and make it a bit more interesting, but maybe that will happen further on. But I think it has great potential. It's really just...
Yeah. Going back to the impending sense of doom, I think that's really interesting. Do you think it would be more effective for them to suggest something happening to show you that there's an impending sense of doom rather than just say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so by the end of the chapter, did you want to keep reading, or do you think it needed to be strengthened a little bit?
Yeah, I think if something was added in hinting that something was about to happen, maybe I would have been a bit more interested. But because it was sort of slow and just very the same the whole way through.
Well, you said you were intrigued by the setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting place, but just not enough happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's great feedback. What about you, Lauren?
Yeah, well, I liked a lot of things about it. I thought it was a good use of humour, and like it was sort of very witty at times, which was amusing. There was really good language flow and description, and like the various sentence lengths were there's sort of constant flow that you're interested because you get too many long sentences, it gets a bit boring. So that was really good. Yeah, I sort of agree with Rudy. It sort of needed to have something that's happened, sort of change the pace or start with a bang, something like that. I think there could have been just a little bit less introduction and setting up. Like sort of tried to cover a lot of things in not that much space, which sort of got a bit overwhelming. And like some of the description lengths went a bit like long. But that part I thought was very good, and definitely had potential.
Yeah, I like that you both picked up on the writing style though, because I thought that was quite nice. Just, yeah, maybe something extra could happen in the beginning. What kind of story do you expect if you kept reading? What would you expect to happen? Or do you have no idea?
I think like sort of like a futuristic, and then something that's sort of a secret within the business that she wants to resolve, something similar to that.
Yeah.
I kind of expect her to break out as, like, the whole time she's being controlled by her mother, and her mother is saying, you need to be seen but not heard, and your responses to everyone has to be very polite and all that. I think maybe something would happen to her to make her realise I need to change, I can't be controlled by my whole life like this.
But it was sort of clever how there was referencing between like the mother and daughter interactions and how there was sort of just subtle things to say to other people to sort of make them feel bad about themselves, and that was what the mother was trying to get her to do. So it was interesting.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Let's move on to the visitor, which was Lauren and Bree. Bree, what did you think about the visitor?
I thought it was nicely written, had a good storyline building, and very, very descriptive of how run down New House was. But there may be a little bit more on the characters because there was very little on describing what they looked like or what their relationship is with the other characters. As the mother is left in the car, there isn't much about her. Yeah, and the main character, Septima, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, she had a couple of mood swings. So she was angry at one point and then happy or calmer at another point. So it was kind of difficult how to place what they were like. But this could also open up what we could imagine how they look like in our minds ourselves. So that's also a good thing.
So I also picked up on the mood swings, like her father would sort of be snapping at her, and then she would be sort of defensive in return, and then the next sentence they were sort of more smiles and things like that, which was sort of a bit odd because if she's sort of a teenager, so I don't think that would quite so realistic. But yeah, and also the same thing, sort of more information about her mother, because there was sort of like just a little bit more little thing enough that you sort of don't know, and there's nothing to sort of make you sort of want to find out.
Yeah. So do you think the author could work on the characters a bit more?
Yeah.
Because you're not, at the moment, you're not quite feeling connected to them enough to make you want to keep reading.
I really enjoyed it. I think it was pretty well written. The use of adjectives and description. And like with the way that she described the outside of the house, it was sort of clear that there'd been a lot of background knowledge and research put into that. So it was sort of subtle, but you sort of still realised it was there. It was good. Yeah.
And did you have anything other notes for the author that you'd like to?
There were a couple of like just grammatical errors, just missing a few full stops and stuff, but I remember
Yeah. Yeah, I think they all need a little bit of editing. As Vicky said, they probably left them in just to check that we're paying attention. Okay. Thank you. Let's talk about the Bone Singer. Bree and Lauren again. Bree, what did you think about the Bone Singer?
So this one was interesting. The beginning was good, how it describes the bar and the people there. But I did find it a little bit confusing towards near the end when she's having the dreams, because I couldn't tell which was reality and which one was a dream. And also there was a bit of a lack of information about certain characters, like there's a monkey in there, like who's the seed. And just if there could be a bit more about perhaps a backstory on what's been happening with their dreams or people and stuff, that could bring out a bit more, I guess.
Yeah. I actually sort of different opinion. I thought it was really good. Like I really enjoyed it. It sort of captivated me at the start, makes me want to keep reading. I thought it was really well written, with like good use of language and description. I thought there was actually just enough information, so you could sort of have an idea what was happening, but you still wanted to keep reading to find out what else happened. At the end, it was a little bit confusing as to whether she was like dreaming or had she actually been seeing things. And yeah, the character Lucky, like because of the unusual name, because you sort of don't know if she's like a pet or a person or something. So yeah.
With the ending, how you said you didn't really know what was going on, but do you think that was a good thing, or do you think it was a bit too mysterious?
I think just sort of having an air of mystery was good, but I think in this case it was just a little bit too abstract, so just a bit more description.
Yeah.
Fill in the gaps.
And what specifically captivated you about this chapter?
Just sort of the topic, I guess, this sort of troubled youth is quite sort of a big thing at the moment. I really enjoyed that type of story. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting and how she was quite a strong character.
Fantastic. Let's talk about A Shadow from the Past. Bree and Meg, what did you think about A Shadow from the Past?
I really enjoyed it. I was a massive fan of the names, like Nissa and Ren are like really inventive and really cool names. I loved the imagery of like choked with merchant stalls and the fanatical gleam slowly faded from Ren's eyes. I think that's like really awesome. With the opening, it sort of didn't really grab me. So maybe instead of like an alarmed cry and then like continuing on with that, it could be something like, you know, how did the scream sound? Was it blood curdling? Was it piercing? Or maybe just like a single or a couple of words, like a scream and then full stop, and then like, you know, Nissa, it grabbed her attention sort of thing. Something like that. Because there's so much going on, I thought that maybe in some places, especially in like the battle scene, it could be slowed down a bit, so it's a bit clearer. But I really liked it. It was really good.
Cool.
I found this one rather adorable as well, with the mystery of Ren, because she seems to have some magical powers that nothing explained later, and about this returning high priest thing, that sounds really interesting. I would continue to read this, especially make it lovely. The setting kind of sounds it's set in a different time zone, maybe because with motor stalls and it doesn't sound like there's any electricity or anything there, so maybe medieval setting maybe. But
and the fact that it takes place in a bazaar.
Yeah,
it's like a different country.
This one sounds good. Just maybe a little bit more about what has happened and, as you said at the beginning, yes, maybe worded differently, but
maybe like a little bit more of a backstory as to what's happening.
Yeah.
So I was a bit confused. Who was it? The Children of the Scale.
Yeah.
They were mentioned and they weren't really explained, but it was all very interesting.
Yeah. Do you think that backstory needs to be in chapter 1, or would you read chapter 2 to?
Yeah, it could be explained later.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. There was like a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, this is only the first chapter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it could be nice that it sets up all these questions.
Yeah.
If you keep reading.
For sure.
Fantastic. Let's go to the Banshee Initiate. Bree again, and Ruby. I'll give you a bit of a break. Ruby.
I quite like the unique storyline here. Like, it's not that often that you hear about banshees and that kind of thing. But I do think it needs a bit of a backstory to explain what they are, because I don't think most people would really know that much about the topic to get as much enjoyment out of the book as they could. I really like the use of first person in the narrative because I thought it conveyed the character's feelings across a lot better than, say, third person would. And I thought that the relationship between the two girls was really cute, and I think that Lane's feelings about who she is and her quest to feel accepted is something that could be elaborated on a lot more, and has great potential for a good story like that. And overall, I thought it was a great read with great potential and exploration of different ideas and depth and interesting concepts.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
what about you?
I would have to agree with maybe a little backstory on what banshees are, because this is probably the first time I've heard them in context. Maybe something on the sisterhood of banshees, because that was mentioned, and I was a bit iffy on that. It was interesting to show that it was a relationship between two girls instead of maybe a guy and a girl, as most stories are, so that was rather interesting. I like that. So I would have to agree with you most of the time with actually having more banshees and stuff. So apart from that, it's a really good start to this story. Yeah.
And did you like how, aside from the banshee thing, they seem completely normal?
Yeah.
Normal teenagers. Great. We have one more, and the last one is Facing It, and with Ruby and Nina. What did you think about it, Nick?
I thought it had like a really awesome opening, which was she never knew whether to scream or sing when she felt this way. It really like grabs you, because I love a good opening, and you had that. There was a really great character, like Carly was a really great character, and I found her, not that I found her relatable like myself, because I couldn't really find myself in her, but I thought that she's kind of like the girl that everybody's like, she's a bit mysterious, and everybody's a bit scared of her, but they're sort of like entranced by her at the same time. And it's very rare that you get to like get into the head of that kind of girl. So I thought that's really interesting. And I really love the ending, and then there was nothing, because it's like a really awesome book.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's very, very intriguing.
I really liked how it's just a normal setting, like uni and normal people, and everything is just going around this one girl who has these internal struggles, and she finds it hard to fit in with everyone else, but everything else is just going on as normal, and she has to deal with this problem like in her head. And I really like the flashback to the car ride with Dave at the start, and then back again at the end, because it kind of explains sort of why she was struggling to fit in with everyone else. And then in the, I think it was law class, when she saw that crash, that really tied it in with everything, and you begin to understand why she was upset about that kind of thing, and why she was embarrassed and all that in front of other people. And I really liked at the start when it was her job back to reality, because there aren't many things that I would change about this, but I would consider adding in maybe what Dave was like and what it was about him that she really loved, apart from the rides in the car. But yeah, I really like this book, and it's really enjoyable, and I definitely continue reading because of the cliffhanger sort of at the end and the grades.
Fantastic. Thank you, girls. That's our chapters for this session, so we're going to switch back to Vicky.
Thank you. Right, so the next session, which is session 5, we are talking about another 4 chapters, and we've got Tash, Harry's the first time on a panel, Harry, Nicole, Beck, and Katie. And this time we're talking about Adventures of a Teenage Con Artist, Heart is Hard to Find, Heirs and Empires, and The Unlikely Heiress. So we'll start with Adventures of a Teenage Con Artist. Now, Tash and Nicole, you're the ones that read this one. Tash, what did you think of this one?
I think stories like these are the reasons why I love young adult fiction. The author definitely connects with the reader, because like she can connect with the younger audience, and they'll be able to relate to this girl and how she wants so much more out of her life. The characters were all introduced really well, and it was easy to bond with them within such a short time frame. The only thing that didn't make a lot of sense to me was that Nicole described Libby as the type of best friend who knew exactly what you were thinking just by looking at you. However, later Nicole says that she dislikes how Libby can't see how much she wanted to pretend that Aiden never existed. So I thought, yeah, they both contradicted each other, but other than that, it looks like it's going to be a good story.
Cool. So you read more?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Nicole, what will be your thoughts?
The same as Cash. I think I'd definitely read this if it was to be the full book, because it's just really a really enjoyable book, and I think it's the kind of thing that I would enjoy reading. But like the main character's name is Nicole, so that was really funny. But yeah,
the author thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. And I loved how they brought in the characters. Especially Nicole at the start, she talks about like nicknames and how she also likes to record other things and stuff. And I think that's really a really personal way of bringing a character, and I really enjoyed that.
So it's a simple way of understanding character that made you connect with her. Yeah.
Yeah. I love her relationship with her best friend Libby. My best friend at the moment is overseas for 6 months, so it kind of reminded me of her and how close we are. So that was really like another personal thing, so I really enjoyed that. And it's a kind of book that would relate to our age. But yeah.
Yep. So the ending, what do you think is going to happen next, based on the ending?
I don't know. I found in like the first chapter, the title didn't really make sense, like the con artist, because that was nothing like that was introduced. So obviously, maybe something to do with that will come in.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep. You would both like to read more. Wonderful. Thank you. That is all we've got time for that one. Thank you, guys. The next one we're going to talk about is hard to find, and we've got Tash and Harry for this one. So Harry, you get to talk first. So how's hard to find?
I thought it was. I didn't fully. I'm not a avid reader, and I thought that there was a lot of descriptive language sort of in the wrong places.
Okay.
So for an example, is under the bench, perpendicular to the stove, was the most important machine ever bestowed upon university students. They were talking about a dishwasher.
Yeah.
It's a dishwasher.
So your thoughts are it's not overdone.
Like dishwashers are good, but they're not that important, and it's a bit overdone for something that's not a dishwasher.
Yeah, yeah.
And they sort of, the author sort of left out, or could have used that descriptive for more important things like, then left out stuff. What was Monique serving up for dinner? Why was Monique the boss of the house? Because two guys and a girl living in a house, why's the girl the boss of the house? Usually that's not how it works. Yeah.
Okay, so your thoughts are a bit more detail on the characters, a bit more insight into who they are, and a bit less kind of focus on the world that the person's trying to create. Okay, yeah. Was there anything about it that you did enjoy, or that you thought build on that author, please?
Well, there wasn't really enough to sort of know what the story was going to be about.
Okay.
And the title, I'm not sure, but there might be something more that we only had a short.
Yeah, that's right.
First bit of the book, but I'm not sure. It didn't really leave me wanting to read on because they didn't really set up, what was going to happen in the book.
What the story was
about.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So Tash, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that if there had been a little more drama or suspense, it would have made us want to read a bit more. But I did like that. I liked Ricky's musings about life. I thought they were pretty relatable. So I think we've all been there or are going to be at that place at some point. And all the characters were introduced really well, so you get a really good feel for them. So that was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this, but it didn't leave me wanting to read more of it. I found the metaphors about the sun and the sky and the description of the landscape it dragged me down. It was you've got half a page of talking about the landscape, and it was just it kept on going on. I'm I don't like this.
Yeah. So you wanted more story than.
Yeah, more story than like they're just talking about them walking home.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need that much in walking home and describing. Like there was too much emphasis on describing the landscape that I just started skim reading over it. And I was like, I don't need to read this.
Yeah.
I skipped most of it. And I'm just like, I'm not really a fan of the character of Ricky either. And, like he seems to monologue a lot, and the point of view that he's showing is really annoying. It's like he doesn't have enough of his own character in there. It's all like thoughts about other things. It's like there's nothing showing him.
So there's a lot of interior going on, and not as much action as you'd like to see.
It's like it's more like you don't get to see him. Like you understand about Monique, and you understand about Sam, but Ricky, like he doesn't have anything there. It's like he's the main character, and he's like in a shallow box. It's like an empty box. So what's going on there?
Yeah.
I was wondering also about the title. Is this like the chapter title, or is it the book's title?
Yeah.
Like the chapter title, there's nothing to do with it. It's the book's title, like where was like the relation to the title. I can't find it in that chapter.
Yeah. So was there anything within this that you thought the author could build on? With some of the language or the characterizations?
The language was alright, but the characterizations definitely needed more depth to them. Like they sounded like a cardboard cutout that they were playing with.
Okay.
It was like it was really wooden.
Yeah.
So to speak.
So building on the strong language and working in some more characterization of the story.
Like Monique had a brilliant character. I loved her character. And Sam was a bit of like the crazy best friend.
Yeah.
Ricky and his main character just did not do that.
Yeah. Okay. That's valid. Thank you. Thanks, guys. We'll stop that one. So the next one we wanted to talk about was Heirs and Empires, and I've got Harry and Beck for this one. So Harry, what were your thoughts on Heirs and Empires?
Well, I thought it was a really good opening intro, and it was really like sort of captured me the burning the school uniform, because it was an interesting sort of concept because you don't really hear too much about. It was meant to be about like the mafia sort of thing in Melbourne, and.
So did that interest you and make you kind of feel a bit intrigued, or?
Well, it was interesting, yeah, and it was sort of the story was sort of I don't want to go too about it, but the story was sort of the parents of the actual mafia was manipulating the kids into the same school where the police chief was at. They're his kids, so that was sort of like an interesting setup.
The story matter interested you.
Yeah, and on just two things I thought I didn't understand is why people living in Melbourne say mom, like with an O, and cell for cell phone, or mobile phone.
So it might be straddling some different types of writing.
I'm not sure what the background is of
the intention is.
No, I found it quite disorientating because they're Italian mobsters usually using American English words, and I'm like, that doesn't sound quite right. I like the Italian in that way. Like, I'm Italian myself, and it's like I can understand what's going on here. I understand like it's really
the drama.
It's funny.
So putting aside the American spelling, did the story work for you?
I enjoyed it, but I found it like a little bit confusing. I'm just like, I love the idea of the mobs and the mob in a modern setting, but I found like it confusing that the parent, like the father especially, was like the leader of the mob. And then the wife, it seemed like she had no idea what was going on.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, and also why Dante, who was a girl, has a guy's name. It's like.
So there's some questions you had that you wanted explained in the first chapter.
I'm just like, why has Dante got a guy's name when she's a girl?
Yeah.
But I also thought that like, you don't actually get his name, the Kincaid kid, or the Kinchi. I think Kincaid kid. I feel like there's going to be like a love story between the two of them, and it's going to be a little bit predictable again. It's like I really enjoyed this, but it's like I feel like that they're going to be like forced to rat each other out. She's not going to be able to rat him out, or they're going to rat each other out and then be furious at each other and not speak to each other ever again.
So you want something unique?
Yeah, it's like please don't do that. Yeah. But it sounds like the last scene in The Lion King 2 where Simba's daughter and the other lion is just like they're saying, they're us, we are us. It's like,
So you wanted something a bit different.
Yeah.
Did the idea of mobsters and mafia and
Oh, that's
live interest in Melbourne work?
That's brilliant. Like Italian mafia in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Why not?
Hasn't been done before. You're not a big reader, Harry, but would this interest you to read a few more chapters, or?
Yeah, I would have read on if there was more. It was just one of the ones I kind of liked, actually.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the final one we'll talk about is The Unlikely Heiress, and we've got Harry and Katie, who's just backfilling on that one. So, Katie, do you want to talk a little bit about The Unlikely Heiress?
Yeah, I only read this a couple of minutes ago, but I really, really enjoyed it. Like, the prologue was really interesting and really mysterious, and I really like it when it's really mysterious because it keeps you going, and it's like, and the emotion with the mum and being called Mama, like I call my grandma Mama, so I felt like this certain connection to it, and I'm like, even though it's her mum, I feel like it just drew out something more in me, and I thought like it was really sweet because instead of calling them mum like usually would, like I don't know, I just feel like it drew out a different emotion. Yeah. So it was I really enjoyed it.
So what worked for you? The story, the characterization, or?
I love. There's lots of like. In the prologue, I love the description of everything and the little quotes and the end of it, like I'm going to die. I'm going to die tonight, and I was just.
There's lots of hooks.
Yeah, just makes you want to read more kind of thing. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Harry, what were your thoughts on The Unlikely Heiress?
Well, with the prologue, I didn't really understand what it meant. I'll assume it was a dream of some kind, and I thought that it was really well written. Like it was quite confidently written, and all the characters were introduced really quickly and well, that they didn't drag on about it. And
so, would you read more? Did you?
Yeah, there wasn't really anything. There was sort of. It sounded like a bit of an average day. It was the girl's birthday.
Yeah.
And they just were going on to their friend's house for a sleepover. There wasn't really anything that made me want to keep reading on.
Okay, so the beginning bits were kind of interesting and full of hooks, but when you get into the story proper, it didn't grab you. Would that be a good summation?
I just feel like the last sentence, I feel like it should have continued. Like when they just like, what's going on? I ask, raising an eyebrow. I feel like that shouldn't be the end.
Too abrupt.
I don't know, but yeah.
They could have left a bit more in because it's sort of. I see they're trying to get you to, what's going to happen next, but there's not really substance. Well, I have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And you don't care as much because it's not as dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Well, that's the end of session 5. Session 6 now is over to Amy for the next 2 chapters.
Okay, hello again. We have got Bree, Meg, Torsten, Owen, and Callum to talk about danger explosives. Jesus is here, custodian, and downhill. So let's start with danger explosives. Callum, what did you think about it?
I thought when they put in the jokes, that was really good because younger kids would definitely read on, and they would have more get in books and stuff instead of reading the funny parts in it. You don't really know what the main character looks like because it's just speaking basically through the whole chapter. There's nothing that describes anything, what's happening, where they're at, or anything. We just know he's at school. So you don't really get a picture of anything throughout the first chapter.
Do you think that's important to help you connect with the main character?
Yeah, I think you should know what everything is and what the setting is. Because otherwise your picture's something different and you might get muddled up as the story goes along. And it was a short chapter, but I was thinking that I think there could be I was thinking that some illustrations or something could input in the book, maybe, to make the chapter longer, or just to help with descriptions and stuff.
Okay. So it could be that kind of book that mixes it up a little bit with pictures and words. But the dialogue is really engaging, isn't it? It gives you a nice sense of the characters.
Yeah, you can tell that Jack and Leo are really joking.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice how the main character kind of stumps them, isn't it? Okay. Torsten, what did you think about it?
Yeah, it made me want to read more because once with these closest on time, is this the business or are they a bit crazy? Interesting parents. Like dad worked closer to mum as a performance. I really enjoyed the dry humour. When Jack and Leo were talking like they share a brain, kind of stupid. I thought it was written really simply, which I enjoyed. I didn't have to try too hard or anything. But it's kind of obvious that they've got a plan with something explosive.
So does it make you want to keep reading?
Yeah, it does. I want to know what happens to the farm.
What's going to blow up?
Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anything else that you'd like to share with the author?
Maybe a bit more description on the landscape and the people.
There's probably a bit of space for that because there's a lot of dialogue in the first chapter. Okay. Thanks very much. Let's go to Jesus was here with Meg.
One second. Torsten, could you put your thing on the table and read from the table? This makes it easy to hear.
Meg and Owen. Meg, what did you think about Jesus was here?
I really enjoyed it. I thought like the title was really interesting, so like grabbed me straight away, and it was very different, like a different kind of story, which I liked. I was a massive fan of the setting, so I love a good setting. And even though it's kind of briefly mentioned, I really liked the whole small town vibe where everyone knows everyone and people are really religious and stuff. I thought that was like a really good base for a story. And sort of like that whole vibe of like when you're in a small town, you always want to like get out of the small town, and that like feeling of being trapped, which Delaney has, which I thought was like really relatable. My only thing is maybe the opening could be a bit more like punchier and like grab you a bit more. So maybe instead of like every Sunday my town turns into a war zone and I'm left huddled in the middle, maybe start with the line that's like it's further on, me and God are not best buds these days, because that's kind of like a bit interesting. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it and I would definitely read on.
Fantastic, thank you. What about you, Owen?
I liked all the themes of this. The two main different themes were really interesting. And I really wanted to be reading. The dialogue was great. The character, what's his name? The other guy. Andy,
yes.
Yeah, he seemed a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like he said he had half a brain cell, but then he didn't seem like he had half a brain cell. It seemed relatively intelligent. That was the only downside. Otherwise, I really liked it.
And it made you want to keep reading?
Yes.
What kind of story did you expect from the rest of the? Yeah.
I think it could go like lots of different ways, because it could be like more on Delaney and like the past and stuff, or it could be more about like what happens with the trees and stuff.
And it sets up some interesting characters in the town, doesn't it? Definitely. Okay. Fantastic. We'll keep moving. Custodian, Meg and Bree. Bree, what did you think?
I really like this one. This one was probably the best one out of my books that I was given to read, because it had a really good start, and the cliffhanger at the end, as I remember it, is an army of spiders crept up my spine when the mannequin picked itself up, dusted itself down, and jumped into my pack. That sounded good. It would make me want to read. And also the mystery about what this thing is. One of the points is believing the thing possible for invasion. That sounds really intriguing. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, it was my favourite as well. And I really want to like buy the books and write more because I'm a massive fan. I really enjoyed all the imagery, like especially clouds that threaten to blot out the moon and misty clouds of wasted breath. That's really beautiful. I really enjoyed the character of M. I really enjoy like strong young women characters. And so she was definitely that. She's very likable and someone that you could root for, and she's a very like human character. And she could definitely be a really great heroine. And just develop on her a lot. The scene that I really related to her was where she's like trying to remain focused, and her mind keeps drifting and just trying to like get to the bunker, and she has to like snap herself back to reality. And I really related to that because I do that as well. Mind you, not in small zones, but yeah, she was really great, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, great. Do you girls have any suggestions for improvement?
There's so much I don't like about this.
Yeah, I just really loved it.
It's a really good one.
Good. Good first chapter.
I would definitely read.
It does have some beautiful language in there, and it does set up a really interesting story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Great. We're up to the last ones for this session, Downhill, with Torsten and Callum. Torsten, what did you think about it?
I believe a lot of teens could relate to this, because if they're doing their exams or if they're like an athlete. I also like the idea that the main character isn't perfect. Like, she falls, and she isn't just the perfect person. But the only problem is that I didn't hear the main character's name. Not sure if it's a boy or a girl. It kind of would be nice to know. It's a bit repetitive. This chapter could have been split into two, having more detail. And yeah, having it all together made it too long. Nothing much seemed to happen. But it was well written. It maybe just needed something to hook me in.
Yeah. Do you think it's the kind of book that you would normally read?
No, it's a bit different to what I normally read.
Who do you think would enjoy this kind of book?
Not really know.
Not really sure? That's okay. How about you, Callum?
I like the first sentence. Second place is the first season. It's a big metaphor because that is correctly. Second place is the first season because you don't win. So it's really good, but I'm not really sure what it relates to. But it's still good. There are some parts that need editing. Like Burn says there is a World Cup on his bedside table. I don't really get it. Is it like the trophy or is it World Cup fixture or something like that? So I'm not sure if they've left the word out, and it needs a bit more description in some parts.
Yep.
It needs some more excitement in there because it's just talking about the main character sitting doing an exam and need to be fifth out of the classroom. And I don't really get why she wants to be fifth out of the classroom. And I don't really know how the character is described.
So you don't really feel connected to the main character? Okay. What could the author do maybe to make you feel a bit more connected? Just a bit more description? A bit of backstory maybe? Okay. Great. Okay. That's us for this session. We're going to move back to Vicky.
Thank you. Alrighty. There's my stopwatch. Okay, session number 7. We have Xander, Harry, Fergus, Katie, and Roshni. We've had a couple of last-minute backfills because one of our panelists wasn't able to come, so Katie and Roshni have backfilled again. Thank you very much. All right, so for this session we're talking about Strange Way, Magic Hut, Staying on Track, Trouble, and Amaranthos, Thanos. What's the rest of the heading? No, Thyself, sorry. So we'll start with Strange Way, and that is Fergus and Xander. So Fergus, do you want to start and tell me what you thought of Strange Way?
Well, I think the book was very reminiscent of the Cherub series. Like, you could really get the sense of the character and, like, who he was and how he fitted in to the overall structure of the world and how he thinks, because he's not too blank that he just becomes just a bland character, but he's not like intricate enough that the audience can't project onto him.
Great comment. You are a reviewer, aren't you, Fergus? Was there anything that you wanted the author to work on or develop further?
Write more. I definitely want to read the entire thing. The book had a great intrigue, and I wanted to see where it was going. And I thought, yeah, the characters were really good, and I thought the twists that he put in the first chapter were really entertaining.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Well done. Xander, what are your thoughts?
One of the parts that I could just relate to in Strange Red was it was just a small thing, but the Warhammer miniatures, which he mentioned at the start. I'd like to collect a 140,000, it's like a separate version. But one thing I think he should improve on is concept of aliens, unless they're like predators or xenomorphs. I think there should be something like magic conduits or maybe.
So you want to know a little bit about the aliens in the first chapter?
I guess I just like him vicious, maybe.
So what did you like about it? What kind of worked for you in Strange Red? Was it the character or?
It was the character and just the way it was written out. It was one of those books which you just liked, you related to.
Yeah, so it flowed well.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait for the whole thing.
Nice to know. Wonderful. That was 2 minutes on the dot. The next one that we want to talk about is Magic Hut. And again, it is Fergus and Xander. So I will go Xander first. What were your thoughts on Magic Hut?
I really like the story of how the kid is a sword fighter, and I can really see potential in the story of that. But what I think will be improved is what if his parents aren't really dead? Like, what happens if they're just transported somewhere and their brains were never found? But
I have a feeling that might be the suggestion. I'm not sure. Yeah.
But if it's necessary for the parents to be dead, then
Yep. So what grabbed you about the character?
He wasn't the most athletic or anything. He was just kind of in the middle. But then when he made that sword, it kind of changed him.
He became awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fergus, your thoughts on Magic Hut?
Well, I thought the character was a bit psychotic. Like he just pushes his sword up to this guy's throat, and until that guy says, "Oh, I surrender," he's just gonna cut further into his throat, which I thought was a bit much.
Yeah.
Like you could have made him more relatable by taking the sword away.
Okay.
But I didn't really. Even though I did enjoy it, and he wrote some really good action and some pretty good characters, I thought I don't really understand what world we were in.
Okay.
I didn't understand what were the rules.
Yeah.
Is that just a normal thing? Someone
are we in real world but 500 years ago, or in another universe type of thing?
A fantasy with elves.
Yeah. What would you have liked?
A bit more world building, but I did really enjoy the action, and maybe a bit more of a likable protagonist because he was a bit
intense.
Yeah.
I think that he just said he used to live in a hut with his parents, and the only magic really part was when his parents got disappeared by a wizard in the middle of the road. So I think he should kind of build on the concept of the magic hut, which is kind of like the story.
Yeah. Okay. So draw from the title and build on that idea. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Very good. The next one we're going to talk about is Staying on Track. Oh, sorry, Fergus and Xander again. Actually, I might mix it up. Oh, that's insane, isn't it? We'll do that later. Trouble. This one is going to be discussed by Harry and Katie. Harry, what were your thoughts on Trouble?
I thought it was a good opening. It didn't draw out the background information too much again, and
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, some things he the author described a lot of were a bit unnecessary.
Okay.
So some of the characters in the story came out and just surprised you, and you didn't know that they were in the scene in the first place.
So there's some setup missing.
Well, there was sort of some description of who was actually in the scene.
Yeah.
So for an example is when it's a bit later in it, and so it just comes out with a skinny woman shrieked at him. Where did that character come from? And sort of a skinny woman, like it's not really.
It's not a strong description of character.
You don't really understand what that doesn't really put a picture into your head.
Yeah.
What they look like.
Yeah.
And sort of just unnecessary details about exactly how long he pulls out a knife. It's 20 centimeters long. A hunting knife. They're all big. Doesn't really matter how long that.
Okay. So some of it was about unnecessary detail.
Well, yeah, and lacking in different places. So the main character runs off to go find his friend, but he doesn't know. The author doesn't tell anyone why his friend. They're in a park, and his friend is off by himself in the first place, and sort of how he knows. It's sort of he's going after his friend, and then.
So you were a bit confused about the kind of the direction of the plot.
Yeah. And also he sort of basically that he walks into a drug deal, and also there's a bit of not really the sort of language people would use if they're trying to be sus.
Yeah.
Drug dealing. And.
So not enough subtext, I guess. Would that be?
Yes, and sort of more the way that they talk to it, the characters interact with each other. So like a bit cringe.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on what the author can build on within this text? Some things that did work well. They can.
I sort of like the idea of the story and where it was sort of going. Like this is one of the ones where you sort of want to know what happens next because he does set up to because he ends up being pulled to a knife to him, so you sort of want to know what happens next. So yeah,
so
it was good. It was dramatic.
Yeah, good. So, thank you, Katie.
I was just.
Bearing in mind she's had 10 minutes to read this.
I enjoyed the storyline, and I think it would be like really like good. I just feel like it needs more depth and more description, and I want to know more about the characters, and I want to know what they look like. And I just wanted to feel more of a connection.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just, yeah.
So you didn't get a sense of who they were.
Yeah, like, and I felt like it kept going back. He kept talking about things that weren't necessarily important at the time.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I don't care about that. Get to like the action and stuff. But overall, I think the story was like really good and just to work more on the depth and description.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Very good. Beautiful. Now the next one I want to talk about is Amaranthos Thanos Know Thyself. Harry and Roshni. So Roshni, what are your thoughts on this story?
I really focused on the themes because I felt like I could really connect with it. It was basically talking about parental dominance in a young adult's life. So his father was trying to get him to go into this college, follow in his footsteps completely, and arrange his own marriage as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, become a priest. And I felt that a lot of young adults can really connect with that. Like, sometimes we have extreme parents who go to those extremes, and you feel like you lose yourself sometimes in it. One of the particular quotes that I really liked was, Baba can try and mold me like clay, but this is my life and I'm in control of it. So, I like how he's trying to take charge of his own life, and, he's not going to follow in his father's footsteps. He wants to be who he is.
Yeah.
So he's a unique character.
So would you read more?
Yes.
Cool.
I think it was good because it was targeted at young adults, so the language was really informal, and, there was a bit of swearing.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, a bit. But yeah, I really liked it.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Harry, what were your thoughts on this piece?
Well, this was actually my favourite one I read. It starts out with a Facebook chat between the two friends, and sort of unique, and like it wasn't really expecting it, and like from the start I was like, well, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And it feels really authentic. So obviously a Greek person has written it, or someone that knows a lot about it. And it was really funny, and It felt like, it's really realistic, like a parent pushing their kid into doing something they didn't want to do, and he just wants to do his own thing and not be stereotypical to his culture of, having an arranged marriage. He wants to, do more what would be seen as, Australian, or what he wants to do, what all his friends do, and sort of not what his parents think he should do.
So you believe the character and you were with him on his journey.
You sort of feel bad for him as well. Like
you
sort of get behind him that his parents want him to marry at 19 and sort of forcing him into doing stuff and forcing him to become a priest, and he doesn't want to do any of that.
Yeah. And at the end, where I won't give away the ending because it's a good hook, did you think, oh no, what's going to happen next?
I sort of did. I think he did and did not make a good decision. Like, it's really rebellious what he did. But I think...
But wasn't the right thing,
I'm not sure.
What would be the repressions? Yeah.
So that would be good to read on.
Yeah, and Harry, you'd read more if it came your way?
They sort of leave it off. He ends up getting a tattoo, and they sort of leave it off when he's about to get it.
That's right.
Maybe not the right place to sort of cut off where we get to read to, because he's getting a tattoo. It's not that exciting.
Yeah. Would you rather know that he got it?
Well, I'd rather sort of have a bit more to read and see what was going to happen next, and what the actual how he's going to deal with his father and stuff. And because they leave a bit of a conflict that hasn't happened. I sort of want to know.
You want it to end on an upsurge of conflict. Yeah. Nice. Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. The last piece for this chat is staying on track. Fergus and Xander. So, Xander, what were your thoughts on staying on track?
I like this first chapter because normally I don't really like trains, although the author would, because, but this made me think a bit differently. Is there maybe an underground world down there, or is it just a hobo's hideout? Also, he hasn't given much information on the character. Does he have long black hair? Does he wear glasses? You don't really know. But
Did you want to see more of the character?
Yeah, I do want to see more of the character.
So that's an area to build on.
Yeah. But I just kind of want to read the whole piece first.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to review on just one chapter. So.
Yeah, true. Fergus, what were your thoughts on staying on track?
I thought in the early part of the piece, he captures the thoughts of an 8-year-old very well, and I think that you can see yourself in that situation, but it's also like the wonderment of that 8-year-old and when he progresses to be 17, they've still got that same wonderment, if that's a word.
It is.
But and sort of this curiosity, and I thought it was really good. I did think the ending was a bit anticlimactic. I didn't really know where he was going. I think he found a genitive closet.
Maybe. Possible.
But it could be a secret.
So you wanted it to be a bit clearer as to what that was, or a bit more clear that it's a mystery?
Yeah, a bit clearer that this isn't just like this isn't an everyday thing.
Yeah. You wanted to know if he was entering another world, if that's the case, because I agree with you, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. And so what are your thoughts on, apart from that, anything else that the author needs to do to kind of make this stand out a bit more for you?
I'm trying to kind of see how this plays out, Yeah, I like it so far.
Yeah, you want to keep reading. Good. Food?
Yeah, I don't think I would really change much of it.
Cool.
I do like how it's kind of ambiguous, even though they do say in later in the thing it's at Richmond Station. It's near Richmond Station. But I do like how it's kind of ambiguous
as to where
it is, and it could really be set anywhere with like an underground subway station.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well done. That's the end of this session. We'll flick back over to Amy. So we've basically got 2 more sessions. We are running over time a little bit, just because there's a lot to get through. And thank you, everybody. 2 more sessions together.
Okay, hello again. I am with Meg, Owen, Ruby, Lauren, and Olivia, and we are going to be talking about Lily, Breathless, Where the Peppercorn Grows, MC, and Esme's Wish. So let's start with Lily. Olivia, what did you think about it?
I thought it was a great book, heartwarming. It sounded a bit upset and fast. It had a good message in it. Be careful on water, get cold, and use time.
So you enjoyed it? Yeah. Yeah. Did it make you want to keep reading?
I would have read the whole book.
Yeah. So you're interested in the characters, left you with enough information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think about it, Ruby?
I thought that it was really great how it used a lot of like similes and personifications and all that to describe the surroundings. And I really liked how the water was described as an ominous green because it really ties in with the fact that her grandfather died in the water. It can be dangerous, although it's fun. There's something lurking, like things aren't always as they seem when you first see them.
Sets a nice tone, doesn't it? And does this chapter make you want to keep reading?
Yeah.
Yeah? What would you like to see happen in the rest of the story?
Sure, maybe. Well, I know that it's kind of set in Ireland, like in centuries ago. Maybe if there's some sort of mystery that needs to be solved or something. I think it's been well set up for something like that to happen.
Okay. And Olivia, do you have any suggestions for the author?
I reckon they could have put a bit more like emotion into it.
Okay. Okay. What kind of story are you expecting based on the first chapter?
I don't really know.
Don't really know, but you're intrigued enough to find out. Yeah. Awesome. Let's go to Breathless. Meg, what did you think?
I really liked this. It had a really great prelude. I enjoyed the prelude, and this definitely had that. But it didn't really connect to like the rest of the story. But I suppose like later on it will like connect back and stuff. And I really liked the setting in the prelude as well. I thought that was really great. And really kind of matched what was happening. Charlie was like a relatable character, and her inner dialogue about like going or not going to school was especially relatable for me. She says, "Oh, I want to go. I should go. I don't want to go," sort of thing. And the writer has a very clear voice, so I think that's great. The prelude itself was a little bit confusing in parts because I wasn't sure what like quite happening. So I sort of like understand that like that's kind of meant to be the case, but maybe like what's physically happening could be a bit more clear.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it though.
Do you think we need to know any more at this stage about who they're afraid of?
I don't know. I think that it's kind of like there's enough of it. Maybe it should be a bit more prominent throughout, like that kind of fear, rather than like just like a bit of an underlying thing. It should be like kind of always on Charlie's mind. I don't know, unless she's more comfortable with it.
Because it sounds like something that would always be on your mind as long as you don't feel safe.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, Olivia, what did you think?
I had a bit of trouble understanding the story. But it was a good story. The prelude didn't really connect to chapter 1. So it was a bit out of order kind of thing.
What did you like? What did you like about it?
I liked the story behind it all.
Yeah. And so it didn't. Do you think it didn't really matter that you weren't quite sure what was happening because you still enjoyed reading it?
Don't think it mattered that much.
Yeah. Because you'd read on to find out how all the bits connected. Yeah. Do you have any other suggestions for the author?
I don't know. I think that maybe just the character of Charlie could be developed a bit more, so we know more about like her, and because I think that's quite important. Because she sort of, you can relate to her, but you can't really like connect with her. So if you know maybe more about her past experiences, which I'm sure will be explained, you can kind of understand her a bit more. I really enjoyed it, and the opening was really great as well. I thought to say that. If my mother was a dog, it should definitely be a Doberman. I really liked that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Fantastic.
Alright, let's go to Where the Peppercorn Grows with Ruby and Olivia. Ruby, what do you think?
I really liked the story, and I especially liked when the blimp was described as rebel blue because it's, and the jokes are so touching, but I thought it gave the blimp like a personality of like almost throwing a tantrum, I guess. And Grace was sitting up in the tree by herself, feeling lonely when this wind was blowing around, and it really created an image of how she must have been feeling all by herself in terrible weather, and how she really neglected that everyone else.
It's got the writer sets up a very interesting and mysterious story, don't they? And what about you, Olivia?
I really enjoyed the chapter. Yeah. It showed me that when lonely, you could show that everyone else was in it, and there was this girl that been pulling her. That was really nice.
So do you think you were quite able to connect with the character and relate to them? Does it make you want to keep reading?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you guys have any other thoughts?
I think Grace as a character could be developed a bit more because it talks a lot about the girl that bullies her and also Jordan. I think there's a good relationship that's potential to be in the story, but I think we need to know a bit more about Grace for this to be enjoyed a bit more.
Yeah. To just feel that bit more connection with all the characters and what's going on. Okay, fantastic. Empathy. Lauren, you're very quiet. What did you think about empathy?
I thought it had like really good story flow and it was sort of realistic. Having said that though, like I couldn't really connect with the characters because I felt like they all seemed fairly one-dimensional.
Okay.
So it sort of predict the outcome. There was interesting use of like alliteration names, like the phrase Matt and Mike, and then the main characters Jeremy and Joanna, and that's sort of unusual. I'm not sure like if that was done on purpose or not. It's not happened in the stories. With the title, it was sort of unclear as to what that was referring to. It was supposed to be empathetic towards him because, like, at the start, you didn't sort of really feel that at all. He wasn't sort of. He just seemed like a very nice character, this person.
Do you think that's kind of intriguing, that just the fact that it's called empathy and you're reading to try and find out why it has this title?
I guess it was sort of, it ended in a sort of strange place. So it was kind of make sure how it would continue. But and like just for suggestions, I think there are a couple of like grammatical errors, like different font sizes and things. And there was changing between tenses, like past and present, a little bit as well. It was a bit confusing.
Do you think that the biggest thing that the author could perhaps work on is the characterization?
Yeah. Sort of add a little bit more depth and sort of hidden qualities or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can if that's you want a sort of partial character or not. But yeah, so you think that.
Good feedback. Thank you. What about you, Owen?
I pretty much agree with everything. I didn't really relate to the characters that much.
Yeah.
It's not usually the same if I read it, but I just wasn't that interested in it.
Okay.
There was the two different themes running through it that worked pretty well. They didn't really clash or transition really. That actually worked well. But otherwise, I didn't really like it.
Yeah. So what? Who do you think the story is more suited to? I'm not really sure. I think the characters have a big impact. If you don't connect with the character, it's really hard to get into the story.
Yeah, because I generally feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
Because I seems he's, he leaves his friend to go and dance with this girl and it's kind of like,
What kind of story do you expect to come after this first chapter?
I guess contemporary. Like there were sort of some elements of humour, but they weren't sort of sudden, I guess. Like you could sort of get them, but it's not all the time. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And our last one for this session is Esme's wish. Olivia, what did you think?
I really enjoyed the book. It's heartwarming and it had lots of life lessons in it.
Okay.
I did really like it because it's kind of similar to a lot of books I've read in the past.
So, do you think it was lacking a bit of originality?
Yeah.
Did it make you want to keep reading?
I might have kept reading, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. Okay. And Lauren, what did you think about it?
I actually really loved this piece. It would have been like my favourite out of all the ones that I read. I thought it had like really beautiful language, well written. So some elements of humour which were like quite relatable and made you connect to the character and feel sorry for her. It sort of drew me in, and I would have definitely kept reading. There was a really good amount of description. I thought that it was enough so that you could sort of understand things, and it was sort of enough that you could get what was going on, but also still have things that you wanted to know more about, which I really enjoyed.
And did you find it quite easy to connect with the main character?
I think so. Like she's in a sort of not unique situation, but one that I haven't sort of been in. But like having said that, the way it's written allows you to sort of sympathise and want to sort of be there for her. So
yeah, so you would keep reading?
Definitely.
Okay, fantastic. That's us. Thank you, guys. We're going to switch back to Vicky.
Alrighty. Going on? I don't know. Anyway. So the final session for today. Yay! Well done, everybody. Thank you to the people who are late maybe. I might get to say goodbye because I'm over here. But the final session for today, we've got, we're back to the panel of girls. Gosh, you're almost in order on my notes. Beck, Tash, Katie, Roshni, and Nicole. And we're going to discuss the final 4 chapters. We've got Inner Blink, excuse me, The Chosen, Ophelia's Immortals, and Colliding Skies. So we will start with Inner Blink. Beck and Roshni, who wants to go first?
Take it away. I love this. This is my favorite out of all the chapters that I had to do. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Like the idea that humans can like link with each other, like it kind of took me to like the Pacific Rim, like werewolf fantasy realm, so to speak. And the Iron Planet experiment is also really well thought out because like they can't actually do like eye replacements at the moment, but they can do like corneal replacements, which I thought was like a really good like step forward for it. It's really well written. The chapters are good length, and there's enough descriptive text in it to keep you interested. It really kept me wanting to read more. And I also like the fact that the mother doesn't quite accept that her son can't see, which leaves like open the possibility for like a fight or a tiff later where if he gets better and she wants him to be able to link with someone straight away and he doesn't want to, he wants to find like the right person. Yeah, it's like the characters are really funny and well thought out. His best friend is a bit of a goof, which I really enjoyed. It's like I could put my friends into like these characters, and I thought it was just I really liked it.
Is there anything that the author needs to improve on?
Just when they're talking about like the his friend being in the army, I didn't quite pick it up until his dad said it. I think
Those tiny details.
It's just like tiny little things that like it was. And like I really did like the idea of like could you elaborate more on like the machines controlling everything like their food and what they eat and what they drink and stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. What are your thoughts?
Well, Bex basically said it all. I really liked that it was like a weird utopian world. That I really couldn't get my head around some of the concepts of like linking. I didn't really get what it meant and what you have to do. And yeah, it was just stuff like that. And then I have a feeling there's this big military thing because his dad's in it and I think his friend as well. So like, is everyone in the military? Is he going to join the military when he gets his eyes fixed? Is the surgery going to work and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I also agree with Beck's statement on the disability. I actually love that part because, like, it's a real reality. Sometimes parents can't deal with the fact that their kids have a disability. So I think it was really good. It wasn't like sugar-coated, and you know, it's good.
Yeah. So with the stuff that you didn't understand, does that put you off reading, or you think I'm going to figure it out later, or did you want a bit more?
I'm the kind of person who's like really persistent. So if I don't understand something, I'm definitely going to do it. So I would definitely read it. But it's really annoying.
But you wanted more clarification around some things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
I linked it back to, like, I've seen the movie The Civic Room, and like in that they do, like, they link together, like,
I have no idea.
it's like it's Transformers and werewolves crossed together, like, type thing. And it's
So
just
some of
like,
the concepts you understood.
I understood because I'd seen similar things. Like, but I completely understand someone who's not seen anything with, like, Link.
Yeah.
Then you would not understand it at all.
So for someone who's new to this type of genre, you need a little bit more clarification. Beautiful. We might move on to the next one. Thank you very much, girls. The next chapter we're going to talk about is The Chosen, and I've got Nicole and Katie, so I might go to whoever wants to.
I found this chapter really confronting for me. It was very unusual.
Because of what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I found there wasn't a lot of context. Well, there was, but like it just was a bit like all of a sudden this is happening, which in a way it might be a good thing, but I don't know. It was just really unusual for me. And a lot of the words used didn't really make a lot of sense because I wasn't sure what they were.
Okay.
But yeah.
I feel like I was thrown into a world without knowing what the world was about. And I think it would have been great if I had a bit more of an understanding about it. And like Nicole said, some of the words I didn't. And when you can't say them out loud, it's hard enough. Like, you can't say them in your head either, so it makes it harder to read.
And this is one of the problems that people run into with fantasy or sci-fi.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So you wanted the author to find a way of explaining without explaining.
Yeah, exactly.
And leading you into the world without necessarily.
And it's a challenging thing to do.
It is.
But yeah, it's just something that, like, I think it's a great storyline, and I really think it could go far. And I love the theme of the animals and the mask, and I thought that was really, like, incredible. But I just needed a bit more of an understanding.
Yeah. So what do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
I found it also really hard to follow because there was just so much happening.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think would help?
I think I need to know a bit more about this world.
Yeah.
Because it's different to what we live, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just need a background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a prologue or a little bit of backstory woven in, or a little bit more description or explanation. I also felt that the moment of the choosing was too sudden.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I didn't feel that until you said that, but I think if there was a way of leading in, a little bit of setup.
Like in some stories, it makes complete sense to have everything just off with a bang.
Yeah.
But in this, because we were really unsure of where we were,
yes,
it was just a bit
unsettling.
So in terms of what the author's doing well, they can build on. What do you think's working really well?
I think his description, or
he or she, I don't know.
Yeah, just the description of the scenery and the setting was really good.
And like I said before, I love the idea of the animals and stuff. I thought that was really unique, and the masks.
Yeah.
And the main character, what do you think of Hild or Hilda?
Yeah. I thought she was an interesting character.
Yeah.
I thought she was good. Yeah.
Did you feel for her?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think the character was done well, but I just feel like everything evolving around that could. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you. Well done. Second to last piece. I'm almost feeling sad. Okay, we're going to talk about Ophelia's Immortals now with Roshni, Tash, and Nicole. So Tash, I'll get you to start first. So Ophelia's Immortals.
Well, I liked how she introduced the character, yet at the same time there's still a lot of mystery behind her and like this whole other world. The supernaturals in this story seem different to the ones that I've usually read about, which makes me really curious as a fan of paranormal fiction. I'm not usually a fan of when the protagonist talks to the reader in like a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the only thing. And for a first chapter, it seemed like pretty rushed. Like there was a lot that you tried to fit into one chapter. So I would suggest maybe breaking it up into 2 parts, like possibly after the Fae enters Ophelia's apartment, and just expand on each.
So, so you think it was in 2 parts? Which part interested you the most?
Probably the second part, when more started happening, but it was kind of confusing at the same time because it's a lot to take in just one chapter.
So we start with the action and then kind of drag out the description a little bit over.
Yeah, just so you get an idea for like what she's talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you. Nicole.
I really enjoyed how it was some kind of like out of what we're used to environment, but then it also brought in the fact that they were using like texting and like emojis and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was really cool. And it was really suspenseful, but it was also a little bit creepy at the same time. So yeah, that was really good.
So nice tone and kind of mood.
I was talking to Roshni about it before. I also found it a little bit hard to figure out whether it was a male or female at the start.
The main character.
Yeah, the main character.
Okay. Yep. Which is one of the challenges when you're writing first person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than having to look in the mirror and go, I like the way my long hair falls on my, even then you don't know. So, what are your thoughts on where she or he needs to build or improve on this?
I think describing the scene and what was around was really good, but I think describing why this person was here and who they are. Yeah. Because we got like a little bit of information, but I don't think it was specific enough.
There's a lot of scene setting, but not enough characterization in the beginning.
Yeah. I totally agree with what Nicole just said. Sometimes I think like imagery can be overdone, especially if you're just gonna jump like straight into imagery without introducing the actual character, just introducing the surroundings. It's not what I like. I don't want to seem like the big bad wolf here, but this was my least favorite one because it's just not my style.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a realist novel.
Good to know.
Yeah. And
So this wasn't the type of thing you would normally read. So your thoughts, Roshni, are you wouldn't read on?
No.
Yeah, that's right. You can say that. You're not the audience, clearly, for this. What about this piece did you like, and what kind of thing do you think the author can continue to work on?
I liked the consistent tone. So you could always tell it was the same character because they seem like really energetic, but also like laid back as well. Like with the use of language. It was anyways a lot.
So you liked the character build.
Yeah. But I think it took too long to get there. Like the only descriptions you can get of the character are through their words and their personality like that. You don't get a physical description at all.
So you wanted a little bit more showing and less telling.
Yeah.
If I can summarise it in a kind of way. But for you, Tash, it worked. It had elements that you would read normally.
Yeah, it's like the kind of book that I usually read.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
There's also one grammar mistake
that
Roshni and I picked up.
Another one.
They were referring to a cat and about its tail, and it's spelled T-A-L-E.
Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't even pick that one up. I like that. We're going to have to come to you guys when we need to do some edits, I think. Thank you very much. We'll stop talking about that one. And so the final piece we're going to talk about is Colliding Skies. And this is Roshni and Katie. So, Katie, what were your thoughts on Colliding Skies?
This was personally my favourite one. I loved this one so much. Like, I want to read more. Like the title in itself really I don't know, it just captivates you and you're like, oh, what? Colliding skies? What? Skies don't collide. And the fact, it begins with an ending, almost like it starts off and it's like first kisses or something should turn out like this. And I like the fact that it starts off like that. And it's like, oh, so what does it turn out like kind of thing. And it's just so unique. Like I haven't read really any stories like it. And I don't know, it was just one of those stories that you feel you connected really well with.
So the characters.
Yeah, the characters. And I also really like the fact that the romance was straight away, which I like because they kissed in the first chapter. I'm like, yeah, because usually it takes them 10 chapters to kiss. And I'm like, hurry it up. But this one it was
So a lot of romances take too long to get going.
Yeah, and I felt like this one was really good because it was
let's go. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts, Marcia?
I'm completely opposite with the romance. I like that sometimes. Like, I'm not really into those cheesy romance thingies, and like, I like the fact that they only spent like, I don't know, 2 paragraphs on it. I think that it moved on really quickly, but it was good because like, you didn't feel like you were too rushed. You knew that like, you know, things were rushing along, but you know, it wasn't a bad thing. It was a good thing. Like, you know, there was so many.
You were able to keep pace with the event.
Yeah. And I also liked the specific quote, "This isn't a terror attack, it's an invasion." It was the last line of the chapter, and it's like, oh, okay, this is like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, like who's invading who? Is this like an alien attack or something? So I think it was really captivating. I loved it.
Yeah, and so you both wanted to read more.
Yeah, like,
possibly. I guess
it's too much soapy romance.
Yeah, not too much. So you like the adventure and the action, but you also liked the connection between them. So is there anything this person can do, the author can do to improve it, or is there anything that you just didn't like or didn't get?
There was no physical description of Taylor, so we knew that what was her name? Sky was like in love with Taylor, and she had been for a while. But you know, I just wanted to know, like, you know, what does he look like? Why is he so magnificent? Why is she falling for him? Like, you know.
Can I just say, is her name Sky because of the title?
Possibly.
Like, that's so smart. I just picked that up then.
I read this twice and I only realised this morning, like, oh, it's Sky.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just picked that up.
Alrighty, well, I think that's it. We are done. We've run over time a little, but that's all right. Thank you very much, ladies. I'm going to jump on camera so that I can do the final. So you just stay there. All right. I just wanted to say, there's the camera. So thank you to everybody that was involved, to all of our fantastic teenagers who have shone a light on early chapters and have put themselves out there, and they've all been incredibly brave and courageous. And I want to thank you guys for your involvement, not just these ones in front of me, but everyone that's been involved. You've given up time this week, and you've given up your Sunday morning. I also really want to say thank you, huge thank you to the Digital Writers Festival for letting us play this out on their festival. This is the first time we've done this. This is the last day of the festival, and we think it's been amazing being part of it, and we have really appreciated having the opportunity. Also want to say thanks to Creative Write It, which is run by Amy Han, who is the other panel moderator. She's supported us quite a bit through this process and helped us connect with a number of the teenagers. And also, of course, to my fabulous colleagues, Belinda and Michelle, who are busily running around behind the scenes. And there's no way that we could do this without the talents of all three of us. I think, is that all I need to say? Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a great day. Keep writing. Thanks.